This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Philly Sports Guy show. Today is Monday, August 15th, and there was a lot going on in Philly sports this weekend. Let's jump right into it because there's a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the Fightins. We talking about the Fightins, and they had it was an okay weekend. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. They didn't necessarily play their best game yesterday with Wheeler. Wheeler giving up 5 runs and a 6-0 loss to the Mets, where they lose this series. The big thing to talk about in this series is runs. They didn't really put up a lot. They only scored 2 runs. They've only scored in 2 innings out of the entire game. They bookended Game 1 against Scherzer, scored 1 in the first inning, scored 1 inning. Scherzer did not get credited with the loss, but to beat Scherzer was a big boost. They win that game 2-1. And then they go into Saturday's game where it's DeGrom versus Nola, and that did not disappoint. You want to talk about a heavyweight battle between two pitchers. Those two pitchers were going at it. The over-under for DeGrom, because they got him on a pitch count and definitely load management completely on DeGrom 100%. So they only gave him, I think it was 6 innings in total, or maybe it was even only 5. However, his under on strikeouts was 5.5, and he had broken that by the 4th inning. So he was dealing and wheeling and dealing over there. 10 strikeouts in total for DeGrom. Nola winds up pitching a fantastic game as well. Gives up 1, I believe it was right in the first inning, and they rode that out all game long. The Phillies don't get a lot of hits in that Saturday game. 3 in total, 2 against DeGrom, 1 against one of the relievers, but unable to score. They wound up with guys on second and third with 1 out and cannot get that run in the 9th inning, unfortunately, and they lose that game 1-0. It was the 3rd game this season that Nola has lost 1-0. And of course, he went to complete game, did a complete game, only threw like 87 pitches, was really efficient. And like I said, struck out 8, was just, like I said, it was a very good, fight. That was a good pitcher's duel. Don't see many of those. I love those types of games. And you kind of went into Sunday thinking that, hey, obviously there's only been 2 runs by each team, that we got the better pitcher going, at least how I feel, with Wheeler, and that Wheeler was going to be able to take care of business. Wheeler has not been able to pitch in New York since he left New York. And he did not have a good outing yesterday. He winds up going 6 innings, giving up 5 runs. Let me just go get his full line right here. 6 innings, 9 hits. He gives up all 6 runs, earned runs, a home run. Only strikes out 5. He brings up his ERA to 2.92 and goes to 11-6. And the opposite side, the Mets, Bassett goes 5 innings, gives up 4 hits, 5 strikeouts, and a couple of walks. And again, the word of this game, or the words of this game, was left on base, because the Phillies had a lot of those. A lot of guys left on base. In the 9th inning, the bases were loaded. In the 8th inning, they got a lot of guys up to, I think the bases were loaded. There were a number of times in this series where the Phillies had runners in scoring position with no outs and did not get any runs across the plate. And that's going to be a really big deal moving forward. Obviously, the Mets are a good team. We keep waiting for them to start to falter. They will start to falter. They're going to come back down to earth a little bit, but they've been playing some great ball. I mean, they've won 17 of 20, and that's pretty good. I mean, the Phillies went into this series, and they had won 13 of 15, wound up winning 14 of their last 17 or 18 now. So it's not that the Phillies are playing bad ball. Obviously, they didn't have the best game yesterday, and there was one specific play where it kind of looked like that's when the Mets started to break it open. They had one of the Mets guys ran through the stop sign, and in the process of this, the ball goes to Segura, and Segura is kind of slow in turning around, because he turned around and he's got Wheeler with his hands up, saying, "Hey, the play is over," and somebody's running home. So, and then he's got to put his hands down because Segura is throwing around him. But because of that entire situation, because Wheeler wasn't really paying attention to everything that was going on, the Mets get to score their 4th or 5th run of the game. And again, it was just a compound of the guys not paying attention, wasn't seeing the guy going from third to home. He was out dead to rights. The ball was thrown with literally 2 or 3 steps taken, but because Wheeler was in there in the middle with his hands up, Real Muto wasn't really prepared for the throw, and it wind up bouncing off of him, and they didn't score. The next guy goes to second base. They wind up with the other guy in scoring position, and ultimately that guy scored as well for the 6th run, and the Phillies wind up losing this game 6-0. And like I said, in the 8th inning, they had the bases loaded, and the 9th inning, they had the bases loaded, and nothing was to come of it whatsoever. In total this weekend, guys, the amount of guys left on base winds up being 26. 26 guys left on base. The other stat that was really interesting in the process of this, that the Phillies are one of the worst teams in the league batting with players in scoring positions and less than 2 outs. So either with 0 outs or 1 outs, and you have guys in scoring position, the Phillies themselves are not doing the job. They only are at like a 43.8%, which is just about worst in the league, with runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs. So that means you can do like a man on second or third. If a guy's on third with no outs, and I've seen this a couple times this year where they haven't been able to get the guy home, that you get somebody on second or third base and just not able to hit him over, not able to do a sacrifice to get the run in or anything like that. It was uh, it's been an issue. The league average is somewhere around 52.1, and we're operating at 43.8, or maybe it was a 46.8, something like somewhere around that level. And that's not good. That is absolutely not good. And like I said, we're one of the worst teams in the league in that, with as much power and as many hits as we have in this lineup, we cannot continue to leave guys on base. To have 26 guys left on base throughout this series was poor, and only to score 2 runs. Literally, the first and the last inning of Friday's game, and we haven't scored a run anymore. If you take out that 1 inning, they haven't scored a run in 26 innings. That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. So if you say that, hey, listen, maybe if they didn't put the guy at second base to start off to start off the 10th inning, they may not have scored that run. That's very feasible. So literally, we have to start to do better. And of course, the best way to right the ship is to go up against a team that's not doing so hot, and that's what they have coming up today. They are going to be going up against the Reds, and it's going to be your guy Noah Syndergaard, who is 6-8 with a 3.96 ERA. We watched him go down below 4 in his last outing. I was watching, and he started above 4 ERA, and then slowly be able to bring it down. He's got a 3.96 ERA going up against Minor, and I only see his name, yeah, Mike Minor, who is 1-9 with a 6.24 ERA, 54 strikeouts to 24 walks. The Phillies are obviously a minus 190 today. This is one of these games where I kind of think that because they were so cold in New York, expect the bats to come hot today. Let's see what they call with the over under, if they even put an over under on these. They do not, at least I don't have that betting stat right there. I would definitely take the over. I think that the Phillies are going to score about 8 or 9 runs themselves today. And just looking at the ERA from this starting pitcher, he's going to help us in the process of doing that. They are right now, currently, the Phillies are, 11 and a half games back from the Mets, the division, and currently hold the third wild card spot by a game and a half over the Brewers, who are not doing so well themselves. The Brewers are having a hard time of it. They when we started off to get into the playoffs, the Brewers were leading the Central. Currently, right now, the St. Louis Cardinals are leading the Central, and the Brewers are a game and a half back from them, because ultimately we are in a tie with the Cardinals as well. And if the playoffs were to start today, our 3-game series would start in St. Louis, because the Padres have gone a half a game ahead of us. They actually won a couple of games, even though Tatis is not going to be playing anytime real soon. Obviously, he's got that aim suspension because he was taking things he's not supposed to be taking. And now, Soto was back in Washington, where he hit a lot of home runs. I believe he had a pretty good weekend himself over there, and they wound up taking at least 2, if not all 3. I didn't really check out too much of them. They did win yesterday 6-0, and they took 2 of 3. So the still keeping firm here, but however, they're not doing so great. I mean, they have made a lot of trades. They get rid of a lot and still have only been able to tread water. Like I said, they are half a game up on us right now. However, that will change as they get, like I said, they go up against some tougher opponents. I believe that the Padres, they're going up against the Marlins, so that's another easy series. And then I think that they have the Dodgers. They have a few games left with the Dodgers and the Giants left to go. I believe it's 7 with each one of those teams. So their road to the playoffs is going to be a lot harder than the Phillies. Phillies have the 4th easiest remaining schedule left in Major League Baseball. Teams that are above them with the easiest schedule, the Mets. The Mets have the 3rd easiest schedule. Atlanta actually has the 5th easiest schedule, because we do have a lot of games with the Marlins and the Nationals left. Obviously, the Reds, we're playing the Reds. I think we still have some more games with the Pirates as well. So, and the Mets are also going up against teams that right now stink out loud. I believe that they also have 14 games between the Marlins and the Nationals as well. And so it's like I said, they have the 3rd easiest schedule. The Phillies have the 4th easiest schedule, and the Braves have the 5th easiest schedule. So there's going to be a lot of wins coming forward here. And if the Dodgers happen to fall down just a touch, it's possible. It's quite possible that the Mets could wind up with the best record in Major League Baseball. So I think as of right this second, they are only 2 games out of that from having the best record to the Dodgers. Let me see that specifically. And it's actually, that is actually correct. Two games under the Dodgers right now. So it could very well catch it. They could very well catch that and see specifically what's going on. Let's go to a quick commercial break, and afterwards we'll come back and talk about all the other sports that are happening. Yes, Chris, there is a game happening on Christmas for our 76ers, and there's more sports to talk about. So we'll be back right after these messages. I mean, you can see right now without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, get an each.
To myself, what a wonderful world.
Wait, no, you gotta get me at the random. I'm not prepared.
What a wonderful world.
What's up, everybody? It's the Philly Sports Guy here with Philly Sports Trips. And, we're going to Houston this year. And I got a couple Houston fans right here just to say, and I want to know, are you guys ready for the Bird Gang to go to Houston? So what are we going to do when we get to Houston? We're going to melt. We're going to melt the humidity. The Eagles will just be picking the carcasses of the Texans. Well, listen, we'll see you this NFL season. Go Birds! Yeah!
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Welcome back to the Philly Sports Guy Show. And yes, like I said, there's still a lot more to talk about. Let's start off very quickly, just to touch one more on Philly Sports Trips. We just announced, I'm turning 50 this year. And it happens to be on the bye week. We play the Cowboys on the 16th. My birthday's on the 20th, and it's the bye week that week. So we are going to Nashville. Well, that's right. The Flyers just so happen to be playing the Nashville Predators that week. And I understand that everybody knows that the Flyers are right now, they're not in their best form, and that there could be a lot of people that aren't going to the arenas, but that's not the reason why. We're going to Nashville to go watch the Flyers Predators play, and it's going to be my 50th birthday. So go to phillysportstrips.com and go to Nashville. What's happening on the week? We're headed to Nashville. There ain't no Eagles, so you ain't got to worry about it. And we're going to be having some fun right there on Main Street. I go have one of those tomahawk steaks over at Kid Rock's place and all that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely check in and go to phillysportstrips.com, whether you want to go to Washington with us, where we have over 650 people already signed up. We have already 12 buses going. And then we're also going to Chicago, Indianapolis. We're even going to Dallas for Christmas Eve. So definitely go to phillysportstrips.com and go and check out all the different things that they have happening there. It's something that if you want to get a Christmas gift or for anybody, or if you just want to travel with the team, Philly Sports is the best way to go. All right, let's talk about what Chris was talking about earlier. The Sixers are back playing on Christmas Day. And when I thought about this, when I looked at this, I was like, really? That's who we're playing against? It's not like anything special. I'm sure we're going to lead the day off because I can't imagine that the Knicks are going to be worthwhile opponents. And the Knicks, as of right now, are struggling just in general. But it's the Sixers versus the Knicks that day. Other games slated are the Bucks and the Celtics. Now, the Suns and the Nuggets, the Lakers and the Mavericks, and the Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors. So the Sixers will be traveling up to New York for basketball on Christmas. We'll be able to get into this a lot more when basketball season really starts. And I know that there has been some rumors talking about Durant possibly going to the Sixers or to the Celtics. Let's let that play out. I can't imagine. I'm not a big fan of losing Maxey for Durant, but some people are. If it brings us a championship, I don't care who we have to give away. If the championship comes to Philadelphia afterwards, then it's worthwhile. That being said, let's talk about the other things that happened this week. On Friday, there's only so much to talk about this game because it really wasn't important after the first drive. But the Eagles went up against the Jets, and they started off pretty strong. Obviously, on their first two drives, going with 2 touchdowns, and then everybody else came into play. Hurts on the first drive, he only did 1, 6 for 6, 80 yards, and a touchdown pass, along with a late hit out of bounds where he was able to bounce right up. It was one of those times where you got to read the lips of our coach, where he took the words right out of the mayor of Havertown out, right out of her lips, said, "This is," and it was as clear as day. You could understand exactly what he was saying. And it was a little bit of a late hit. It wasn't the best thing, but Hurts popped right back up, runs back out there, and then throws a touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert, 22. Other notable thing to notice, Jordan Davis was double and triple teamed the entire time he was out there. They needed to have 3 guys on him, literally, and he's still bull rushing and manhandling those. This guy is a monster, and they're going to need to pay attention. Imagine him next to Cox. You're going to wind up having those 2 guys are going to disrupt a tremendous amount on that line. And if it takes 4 or 5 guys to stop those 2, that means the defensive ends are going to be getting in there. And I expect this to be a very good season for our defensive line. I'm going to be going to the practice tomorrow. I am going to see it firsthand exactly what's happening and how things are going. So I'm going to be excited to see it, and hopefully I'll get some footage for you guys that I'll be able to share. But realistically, it's going to be a fantastic season watching that with the defensive line the way it is. Everything else kind of happened on that game. I'm sure people watched it. I watched it some. It was, it started to get boring after a while in terms of watching guys that you just don't know are even going to make the team. The one thing I did notice was that they gave Nakobe Dean the keys to the defense and said, "You are the guy who's going to be calling the plays. You are the guys running the defense." And he did a fairly good job, at least in the first half. Obviously, the second half, I'm sure they were putting other people in there and such like that. But it was, good to see him get that opportunity to call the defenses and things of that nature, as we expect that he's going to be a big part of this defense. It may take him a few weeks to get out there and to be a starter, but ultimately we expect that he is going to be given the keys to that car, and he's going to be the captain of that defense moving forward here sooner than later. The Zach Wilson injury, yes, it was a non-contact injury, as I see Chris saying that we got some revenge. It was a non-contact injury. It looks like he's going to be out for 4 weeks with a PCL. It was a re-aggravation of an injury. That's, that happens sometimes. So, yeah, he's going to be fine. the Jets will be okay. They don't have to go after Garoppolo just yet. Anyways, more stuff that happened on Saturday. The Union takes on the Fire, the Chicago Fire. And as a little bit of payback for the loss that they suffered in Chicago, they take it to Chicago and win this game 4-1. Gazdag with his 12th goal of the season, Carenza with his 9th goal of the season, and Jake Elliott scores his first. Also another one from Corey Burke. They kind of really took advantage of Chicago. Chicago wasn't a good team. They went up there and played lackadaisical up there in Chicago. So ultimately, they needed to have a little bit of payback, and they showed it here. Ultimately, they scored 2 goals fairly quickly. They had control most of the half. And then Chicago scored that goal at the end of the half. It was, in extra time in the first half. And you can see that it was just a lackadaisical play by the Union. So Burton got into them, and they came out playing the rest of that game, and they wind up winning that game 4-1, still holding first place in the East. They have lost a little bit of ground to the LAFC in terms of getting the Supporters Shield for the best record in Major League Soccer, but they still hold first and are going to be going, as of right now, heading into the playoffs. They have a 5-point lead against second place Montreal. So there is a little bit of a cushion between there and here. And they look like they're going to be continuing going and heading towards the playoffs if they've been scoring a lot of goals while they're at home. Next game is on Wednesday for them against FC Dallas, and they're going to be in Dallas, so it'll be good to watch. And last but certainly not least, the team it's their first playoff appearance in 9 years, and unfortunately, it does not end well for the Philadelphia Phoenix. That is the Ultimate Frisbee team out of Philadelphia that play just across the street at the Philadelphia Super Site. Their season ends with a 23-18 loss to the DC Breeze. They played the DC Breeze. This is the third game against the DC Breeze, and the first 2 games ended literally with the Breeze scoring a last-second point. Really was not the same way here. The Breeze had control for the most part. 6 goals scored by the Phoenixes. Greg Martin just didn't prove to be enough. They had 14 turnovers, and because of those turnovers, the defense for the DC Breeze scored 5 good defensive goals in comparison to the 1 defensive goal for the Phoenix, and they just couldn't recover. 14 turnovers was a little too much for them to overcome, but what a great season for them. They get to the playoffs for the first time in 9 years, and they look to be trending in the right direction here. So obviously the Breeze goes on to play New York, the New York Empire, who is undefeated this season, the Breeze being 10-2. Lost their only 2 games to the Empire. So good luck to both of those teams as they go on and finish. But the Phoenix is absolutely rising in Philadelphia, and I look to see how they do next season as they start to tighten up all the things that they need tightened up and be able to get back to the playoffs and hopefully to win a playoff game starting next season. Really, and that is what happened this week. I know it's quick to put it in for a half hour. I wish I'd be able to talk about it a lot more, some of the things. We'll go into a lot more detail tomorrow from all the things that happened weekend, but I wanted to give you the full rundown of Philadelphia sports. We'll maybe have some clips of the Eagles and the Phoenix and possibly the Union will show tomorrow. I'm going to be able to put together a show. I will not be live tomorrow. It is going to be a broadcasted show that I will do early because I am going to be at Eagles training camp. Yes, I get to go with a buddy of mine. We're going out there. I'm not going to be painted up, so you're not going to see the Philly sports guy there, as it's not an open practice. So I'm going to go there as Jamie Pags instead of the Philly sports guy, but it'll allow me to get to talk to some of the players. I hopefully want to get a couple of quick interviews, something real small, and just see exactly how exciting this season is going to be as we move forward. Like I said, I've got the Eagles going to be going 11-6. Oh, it could go all the way up to 13-4, but I got us going 11-6, but we're going to the NFC Championship game. You heard it here first. record that video, mark it down, take a picture. 11-6 NFC Championship game. That's where the Eagles are headed. We're going to win the division as well, but that goes without saying because I don't think really Dallas is going to go 9-8 this year is how I have them projected. So for everybody, thank you for tuning in to me here and back tomorrow for another Philly Sports Guy show. Everybody have a great day and take care.